Hey, Doooovid here. I got good reception. We got our annual Design and Construction Expo, which is interesting. There's two different shows that have been going on here in Michigan for a while that have been combined into one. So they Construction Association of Michigan, if anyone's familiar, it's a trade group for construction contractors. And then you have the Home Builders Association, they call it Great Lakes. I'm not sure if they cover just Michigan or some of the surrounding states also. But both of these places have had convention. The Home Builders has done it here at this suburban collection place in the past, as where Construction Association of Michigan has generally had their show in Detroit. So this year they moved out of Detroit at the casino, not at the old Cobo Hall, Torgo Hall now. So very interesting. You got interesting places here, home builders and contractors all in one expanded show. Not like the battery show, that took up basically the whole place. They have some training seminars, the unions, and classes related to like regulation, tax law, building code, all very important. Like in the past, I've sat down and went to these seminars, like at the Siemens conference also, I've shown in the past, but like what's new in the electrical code and various contractors. So this is my field, actually, construction. I usually do manufacturing shows just because that's the majority of shows, and there's not that much construction. So here's your annual show. Pretty cool. You got a rock to demonstrate these drills. A lot of the big suppliers, here you got machinery, generators, all types of power tools, concrete, solar solutions. So I'm going to try to walk around, see what's going here. Then I'll probably walk around, collect some materials, Sherwood-Williams, the paint, foam. These guys that come here, all these conferences, I'm not sure people are trying that, but they have concept for foam-based housing. It's been here. I've spoken to them in the past. They're interesting, trucks. So some of these tiling, I guess, experts in fireplaces and grills, I guess. So all different various type things. I'm going to try to give a quick walk around and see you all's here, and then I'll probably do another walk around and collect some pictures and collect some reading material, maybe speak to some people. So unfortunately, I'd studied in university, civil engineering, construction. Hey, God bless. I had classmates that went on to work for some of the big firms, but I ended up in other realms, not really doing so much. Some property management, and I'd done property management before I had an education. You don't really need a great education to do property management, more experience. So, windows, all very important. Door handles, locks, partitions, tile. I worked in the past in tile. Olympia Tile, actually. We worked for the Reichmans. At one point, were the richest family in the world. Olympia Tile was their original business, and then they became very big. A nice yellow coat. I wear one like that. But then the Canaries Wharf in London, at that point, was the biggest development project in the history of the world, and they went bankrupt. But they held on to the original tile company, and we were a tile contractor and used Olympia Tile, if anyone's curious about that. But tile is a very complicated thing. There's so many different types and sizes, and now like green tile, whatever that means. Even like 15 years ago, they had such a thing as like green tile, and now it's become much more metrics, like what does it mean to be green, or exact calculations of carbon emissions or environmental damages. So I just wanted to get a little feel. Okay, Ricardo. Unfortunately, I'm a cost estimator, and it's really hard to get a job in that field because your Fieldstone, God bless, some trucks, because most people don't want to pay for it. You're saying like it's extra management. Construction is mostly labor, and to be an added upon management job, and cost estimating, scheduling, extra management services are extremely important. But in the tight financial field of contractor, you got to cut costs, and so usually scheduling and cost estimating are things that the contractor will try to do themselves. They don't want to hire somebody, and if it's a big place that that does huge jobs and needs a lot of it, pretty cool stairs, they usually have very expensive proprietary computer software related to them. I mean, they paid tens, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars to so interesting, Ricardo, because Detroit is having some problems based on regulation. There's a lot of booms because like obviously Detroit, the racial tensions or financial problems that plague the city. But geographically, Detroit is the place you want to be. I'm saying the Detroit, originally the Three Rivers, and saying the reason Detroit is the major city is because of geographical reasons. So people want to be active in Detroit. However, Detroit's a tough sell, and there's business requirements. The regulations is extreme in Detroit. The taxes are extreme. So they had a whole bunch of construction projects, and they wanted to force people to use at least 50%. Hey, excellent. God bless. At least, hey, great day. They wanted to use at least 50% of Detroit labor, which proved to be too difficult. They couldn't find that many skilled contractors in Detroit, and they've been trying to train them, and those programs have largely been unsuccessful. So a lot of the construction projects a few years ago, when people are bullish on Detroit, have slowed down and haven't made any progress. So here we are in the suburbs, which there's building, because industry is still largely based here in Detroit, automotive, even though it's been delocalized. So there's factories going up, population decline in Michigan. So home building is very difficult because there's been, I'm going to speak to this guy in a bit, the Gordie Howe Bridge. Because of universal population decline, basically all across Michigan, there's a lot of vacant housing, so there's not much new home building being done. So construction's taken a pretty bad hit across Michigan. There's parts of Michigan, near Lake Michigan, on the west coast of the state, that have been doing pretty good, a little bit of a boom. Some of those people are probably represented here. So, different time I'll try to do a ramble about the state of the economy, business economics here in Michigan in the construction industry. And there's a reason, I have all those manufacturing conferences that I basically tried to switch to manufacturing because there's nothing doing in construction. I mean, you can always try to make a living as a landlord or property management, which I've fallen into, but construction's a very tough field, and I love those yellow coats. I wear one of those yellow high visibility coats in the winter. Always feel kind of cool doing it. Zero Infinity, thanks. So that's basically it. They have upstairs. Let me see if they have, they have some of the classes, and they have some of the seminars. So not a whole bunch of video here. I'm not sure if there are any questions because I'm on my phone. The chat's going by pretty quick. It only leaves it up there for a second. So this is what we should be doing. It's tough to build a regulation, which my mother's a lawyer, and my Talmudic Pilpul background probably has a good understanding of regulation. So I would probably shine in any of these like places where they're talking about like updates in the building code or things like that. Actual labor. God forbid, unfortunately, the actual labor part is probably where I wouldn't shine. Like I could do a little bit of labor. I like management and get my hands dirty a little bit, but to just do a full day, all day physical labor, I'm not cut out for that. Like ich bin a Yid, nicht a Goy. But pretty cool. So just get a feel for what's going on. Compared to like the battery show where it's just packed, because you think like people could make their millions in batteries. Batteries is a big thing. It's a booming technology. Thank God, Detroit has capitalized on being the historical motor city. Not Detroit, the suburbs, because it's been delocalized, and I'll talk about that more. Electric floor warming. I've seen this, so I'll have to go back and look at some of that. But so these dynamics of the economy and other things play in. So relatively, this conference is pretty dead. Construction. There's always some construction going on. Industrial jobs like Ford, big companies have to keep up with the new direction of technology and update their fields. All the businesses, there's always new millionaires being made. Someone's going to be making, building luxury houses and various things. So pretty cool. You can see some of the material and, but like mass collaboration. And also like if this was in Detroit, the racial demographics would be much different. So, the Construction Association of Michigan, so you're seeing a pushback of bailing from Detroit. And ironic, like Cobo Hall, most people in Detroit are strong Democrats. So this, Cobo Hall, which was renamed Twin City Financial, Gary Torgau, who you bought like $30 million. It's ran by the city and paid like $30 million for the naming rights to take down Cobo, who people have bad things to say about him. NAACP and all those organizations, versus Mr. Fisher, the owner of this convention center in the suburbs, who's a very strong Trump-supporting president. Like I've mentioned in the past, we have President Trump will probably campaign from this room. So I guess I'm just going to walk around, collect some reading material. Doesn't seem too exciting. I've been coming to these things for years. It's exciting to see the top contractors and vendors, and I'll get some business cards. And, I'm actually thinking of investing in some real estate. I got to find some partners and the right one. Probably a condominium complex would be the most sensible thing for someone like me to invest in. A few partners. I was thinking Indian partners in this area, and kind of like not luxury condominiums, but more expensive condominiums would probably be the ideal investment management property for me. I still study this. Like, it's unlikely I would professionally get involved. I would like to eventually move into what they call like data centers, IT centers. And I have a whole bunch of friends, mostly Indian, who are computer programmers, but to actually own commercial property that's specialized in IT, maybe data centers, computers, which you can see here, there's not a bunch of specialty in that. There are places that specialize, but here, like CAM, Construction Association, Michigan Home Builders, there's electrical engineers, but the new technology to have the most updated computer gadgets. So for, maybe over the next few years, find a few partners and get a plan together, and we could go into some commercial property and own like data centers, IT programming, high-tech centers, or maybe like a luxury condominium complex that could afford to have some of the building control systems. It's a big thing, building controls. And a lot of places just don't use it. So Gandalf, Zero. Okay, so we got people here in the chat. I'm glad I got a few people. So um, I'm going to walk around, collect some reading material. Not much to ramble on. Like we could talk about this. It's something that kind of goes by, like in the streams and what I talk about, because it's been a hallowed sector. One of the most important historical sectors in all the economy has largely been hollowed out. And it's the same thing by the manufacturer. God forbid, just another guy standing next to his machine praying to make a sale. So, like, okay, like Doooovid is management. I don't want to be labor. I have no intention of taking part in labor. I'm going to do a little bit of work here and there, but I want to enter straight at management. I want to be an owner, and so there's always that tension. Your E. Michael Jones and Baron Metal that I've been reading. The tension between profiteers like Doooovid and labor, and negotiating that deal, and more for manufacture than construction. But those things have been a huge problem going back for decades. Bernie Sanders, how do you fairly split the resources, and even landlordship. That landlordship is largely being consolidated into the hands of fewer and fewer wealthy people, and the skill level, what makes a good financier, banker, versus what's good labor, and God forbid to just be a goy standing next to his machine praying to make a sale, which that's the nature of the capitalistic economic system. Is you can't just better society. There's economic principles that govern it. So you just have a trade, and then you take a table out at a convention like this, and pray you make a sale. So these concepts related to the JQ, because it's related to like Baron Metal and disputes between labor and management. So I'm kind of like a Trump blue collar management, I guess. Trump's the blue collar billionaire, so Doooovid's kind of like the blue collar management. Mr. Fisher probably is also kind of like blue collar management, billionaire, owner of this place, car dealership, multi-generational family. I mention him almost every time I come here because he's expanded this center. Like, this is in the expansion of what he did to build out this center. But Mr. Fisher is also kind of like a blue collar billionaire. As opposed to maybe like Gary Torgow, Twin City Financial, the old Cobo Hall is probably more white collar type than blue collar. But these dynamics are interesting, and you might see the rise of the decline of white collar and the increase in hey, God bless, and the increase in like blue collar management, even green collar. Like Doooovid now kind of say like I'm even green collar, whatever that means. So okay, so I guess I'm gonna sign off. I'm not really following the chat. I appreciate people turning in, and let's get to work. Okay, like we're gonna have disputes about where the money's gonna come from, who's gonna how much money you're gonna borrow, what kind of rates you're gonna pay, permits and building code and all these things, and we're gonna have to move past these disputes to get to work. So you can see like labor, it's hard. Like just as I walked in the door, I was talking to the trade association, and it's hard to get skilled people interested in working in construction, and largely it's probably due to these social concerns, like Bernie Sanders and labor management and payment type things, where it's hard to get people interested in I come to the show every year. Like, I mean, if you don't follow my channel, Doooovid is an engineer. Like, I'm a Jew. I study Talmud in my free time. I love physics. I studied physics in university, and I have theories like multiple truth hypothesis. I'm also a Hindu, but I'm an engineer. This is what I do. I come to all these shows. I keep up with technology. I love technology, how things are made. I love Detroit. I love my area. Like, I love seeing new rows of mansions and buildings and businesses being built, and I'd like to take part in it. I think pretty soon as an owner, like Doooovid will be expanding, God forbid, my real estate empire. All praises to Jared Kushner. But like, due to my background, I don't think I'm going to be like, 666 Fifth Avenue or whatever. I think I'm going to be like commercial data centers, condominiums, uh, high-end housing, or various things. But that's what Doooovid does. That's why Doooovid doesn't shill for shekels. I'll take your money. You want to super chat me or make a donation? Like, I appreciate it. I'll take your money and forward it to what I consider good use. But that's why Doooovid's not shilling for shekels. You want to make money, become a landlord. Donald Trump, the millionaire next door, over half millionaires in the United States are landlords. You don't need a huge education or special training to be a landlord. Anyone could do it, and it is the most reliable, safe, secure investment. Construction, you don't need to be a contractor involved in construction to be a landlord, but they're related. And as you work in landlord type fields, you feel what you want done, what you like to see your property look like, and you need the construction workers. And Doooovid's field's cost estimating, which I always mention, like my arguments with Gandalf about money as a symbol of karma. And and essentially that's what I do as a cost estimator. I'm not sure what I just want to serve Hashem, and I would like to accumulate wealth and property. I don't know the market cycle. Yeah, it could be the next market cycle. The next decline will be the time to pop up a bunch of property. So we'll see what's going on. We'll talk about that more in the future. But it's saying the value of labor. So he's saying, okay, I just want to be an owner and make my money and charge higher rent or have a nicer place to live in. And I might have these ideas the house would be so nice, or the unit complex or whatever a person owns or lives in would be so much better had been so and so. And you got to be an engineer to do that. So have the background as an engineer to understand some of the dynamics. I could get my hands dirty a little bit to do labor, to feel what's it like to work an hour in one of these jobs. And then that's what I do. I give a dollar value to it. I take, God forbid, just another guy standing next to his machine and praying to make a sale. That's what I do. I'm just going to stand here and make an estimate and convert basically the person's labor and their time and their work into a dollar amount. And that's the nature of the economic system right now. You need people that do that are going to convert God forbid, that handshake and the agreement into an exact dollar amount. You need lawyers, you need contractors, and all these various things. And hopefully I'll talk to E. Michael Jones again in these various things, because I think that's the essential holdup that's preventing progress from being made, is these disputes between labor and management. That's where you see the presidential thing where Donald Trump, who will speak from this room, who is friends with the large landowners in this area, represented blue-collar management or whatever, versus labor, and you can't come to a resolution. There's no resolution right now between management and labor. And it's almost at the point of, God forbid, a civil war. People are ready to start killing each other. They don't want to shake hands and work out a deal, and or they're getting the worst end of deals. People are greedy too much. Management has too much greed and can't work out a good deal with labor because, or whatever the various reasons that hopefully we'll discuss in various streams, is just preventing the rise of cooperation. And you could, look here and see all the technology, all the most recent gadgets, what's possible. If you took the best from all these various things and put it into a building, you could have some pretty incredible houses, mansions, apartment buildings, commercial centers, shopping malls, schools, educational facilities. But obviously there's resource questions, and there's rich dad, poor dad, high birth, low birth, racial tension. God forbid, look around. There's almost no African Americans here. If this was in Detroit, it would probably be, even though it's construction or a field that doesn't have that many African Americans in general in it, would probably be 20-30% African American. But here in the suburbs, there's 1 out of 50 African Americans. So there's these dynamics, and there's a handful of Jews here, and we're all probably tearing towards management. So these are important parts of class struggle and organization beyond the pure engineering technology. Besides, like, okay, the guy standing next to a machine praying to make a sale, to be, what's the possibility? What could be built? What's technologically possible? And then even when you start adding considerations like building permits, government regulation, financial, legal things, the actual feasibility. Trying to keep all these perspectives in my head and open and clear, multiple truth hypothesis, recognizing that there's contradictory forces at play in all parts of human nature are important. So I got almost a 30-minute ramble here. I'll have to check back later to read the chat. I didn't really see it. So I'm going to walk around, collect some reading material, speak to some people, and get out of here. Anyone in Metro Detroit, this show is today and tomorrow. So tomorrow also we'll have tomorrow we'll also have this same show in the same place. So anyone in this area, encourage you to check it out and take science and engineering seriously, and take the considerations of social pressure. Pretty cool. Printers for architectural drawings. Hey, God bless. You can come back in a minute. There's too expensive for my work. Like, nice gadgets I'd like to have, but like I can't pay like $20,000 for a special printer that prints out architectural drawings. They have print shops where you could pay to have them, or if you're in the business, you might have colleagues or friends that own those machines. So all these stuff pretty cool. I'm gonna go and collect some reading material, see the latest gadgets, see the prices. I haven't been too active in cost estimating or my field, but like from my field, I have to go to these conventions just to get a feel for prices, to be able to accurately assess rates in prices. Say, okay, like, God forbid, these guys don't picture themselves as, God forbid, just a guy standing next to their machine praying to make a sale. But from a greater economic perspective, you could numerically qualify this person in terms of financial data, market rates, going rates, almost everything, the capitalistic system and free markets to determine market value. Could put a price on basically any of this stuff, and even if the person doesn't know their own value or price, they in construction they even have like books like the RS Means that they publish every year that have this information. So like anyone in the field is a little bit familiar with it, and God forbid to use like a pejorative of a guy standing next to his machine praying to make a sale, to somewhat does sum up the American capitalistic system and how these shows work, because you don't know who's going to come by and want your service and who's going to buy your product. And if you don't know how to do the research in setting prices, you may not know how to value your service or these various economic considerations. So I'm going to sign off. Thanks for tuning in. If there's any question real quick, okay, so truth and love, God bless. So I'm not sure the comments, if what was going on, I'll read them back later. So God bless, take care everybody, and I'll do like I usually do. I'll start in one corner and go table to table. So God bless everyone.